If you were in a casino right now and I said to you, make a wager on what team Jimmy Garoppolo plays for this year, you can pick any team in the NFL, including the Niners. Who you putting your money on?
Possible question. That is an impossible question. Um, I would
Somebody's
have to
asked
just say
somebody. By the way, sorry to interrupt, but somebody's asking if one of us is tapping our leg because you're just hearing a little tapping back and forth.
oh
I'm.
shoot, that would be me. That would
Oh,
be
is that
me.
you?
My bad. My bad. See, that's the
You're.
mic. The new mic, it picks up all the sound. I'm a compulsive tapper. I always got my legs tapping, so that's me. I'm sorry about that. But um
No, but
I
if you had to bet where Jimmy's going to be, one team, and I bring this up because I heard Greg Papa with on Haberman and Middlecoff the other day saying that he could see him in Cleveland because Deshaun in his mind is going to be suspended, and that there would be Cleveland needs to win games without Deshaun, and maybe all year without Deshaun. He was throwing out Cleveland. I don't know. At this point, I couldn't even venture a guess. I guess I would probably say Carolina,
I think
but
Carolina would be the best guess. I just think the thing with Carolina that's difficult is just, we talked about it on the last show. I think the best deal would be for the 49ers to somehow get Sam Darnold. We'll take the contract from you and give them Garoppolo. But at this point, I don't see movement towards that happening just from the way Carolina seems to be handling themselves. It seems like they're going to see what happens in the draft first before they make any decision later on what they're going to do with maybe Garoppolo or whatever. But if you had to ask me honestly, I'm trying to think because I think it's gonna end up being some sort of spot where you got this. I'm gonna say Miami. I'm gonna say no. Actually, I won't say
wow,
Miami. Sorry. No,
really?
no, no, no. I'm not saying Miami. I'm not saying
Oh,
Miami. I forgot they had Teddy Bridgewater. I
yeah.
forgot that for a second. If they didn't
I
have
could
Teddy
see Jimmy
Bridgewater, I
with
would
that
say
tan
Miami.
in Miami, though. You could see him walking around South
Right?
Beach wearing a
Right?
linen suit. I could see it.
No, I think he's gonna end up in some sort of place where there's, some sort of young quarterback that maybe is a little bit unproven or, um,
Seattle?
that would be a spot. I do you see him going to Seattle? I think
I don't
Seattle would
see
be if he gets
Seattle
cut.
wanting him, but they do have a young quarterback, and they don't really
Right.
have a starter.
Right. I don't see Seattle. That's the other thing, right? Who do you see wanting Jimmy Garoppolo at this point?
Do you think the Niners haven't released him because they fear that he'll wind up in Seattle?
Why would they fear that? If you believe you have your guy, like Belichick traded Drew
They love
Bledsoe to
him. You got to
Buffalo.
remember this. They love him. There's a love there for Jimmy on some level. Maybe not because they just gave a lot of draft capital to get Trey, but somebody in there loves him. I mean, otherwise, to
No, the
me,
players definitely love him, right?
yeah.
That's undeniable. But my entire take is, even if you love him, if you believe you have your guy, it doesn't matter where Garoppolo goes. He doesn't affect what the outcomes of
But
any.
Vish, think about it logically. Let's say Trey has some bumps in the road, and let's say Garoppolo went to Seattle, and let's say they beat the Niners twice, and they go 10-7 or whatever it is, and they go to the playoffs, and the Niners go, I don't know, 7-10, and they don't make the playoffs. A guy that could cost Lynch his gig, couldn't it?
Maybe. Didn't Montana and Kansas City come back and beat Steve Young?
Steve Young was the MVP of the league that year.
True, true, true. I'm just
The
saying.
49ers
Hey,
won the
it's not
Super
even a
Bowl that
comparison.
year.
Too. We're talking about two Hall of Famers versus an unknown and an
Yeah.
average quarterback.
No, I know.
But I brought that up just as more of a joke. But
Yeah.
yeah. At this point, honestly, I'm not sure, Larry. I have zero clue where he goes because it's.
Does it happen on draft day?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Do you?
Well, I mean, here's this is the thing that I'm not really understanding, or I'm not really understand. I'm not understanding. Is not the right way to put it. This is the part of this that I think it's problematic. Okay, so the 49ers are doing things. Let's just say they're doing things on their own timetable. When do they need Jimmy's cap room? I don't believe they want Jimmy on the team this year. I believe they want to use Jimmy's cap room on extensions for Bosa and for Debo. Those
Well, they needed to
extensions,
draft. They needed at this point. They needed to sign their draft picks. They do not have cap room today to sign their
But they could
prospective
restructure
undrafted.
somebody else, right,
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
But where
Yes.
they really need the bulk of that money is to give it to Bosa and to Debo. Debo, after the receiver money that's being thrown around, may get $70 million guaranteed. That money, that level of cash is only coming from Garoppolo. So I think
Not
that's when they want to
necessarily,
do it.
right? Not necessarily, right? Because I mean, even with the cap rollover, if you expect the cap to boom from the Amazon deal and whatever, there's a very, very realistic way to fit both their large deals because you have Bosa and Debo cost control. Bosa at least the next 2 years, right? You're not going
Right.
to. I don't think you're going to change their cap hits for this year and just rip up their contract and give them a new. I think that's what they did with Navarro Bowman, I want to say all those years ago. His first extension, they ripped up his old contract and just said, "This is your new contract." Eh, Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that what they did?
I don't recall, so I can't correct you on that one. You're probably
Okay,
right.
okay, I vaguely remember that. If I'm wrong, someone please tell me. But I don't anticipate them doing that. I think that Debo's cap hit is going to stay consistent this year, no matter what. I think Bosa's cap hit will remain consistent over the next 2 years, and he's going to sign an extension upon his contract. So he's going to get a ton of guaranteed money, but it's not really going to affect anybody besides Jed York, who's going to have to fork it over to him. But in terms of, if you expect the cap to boom and all of that, right? Sure, $25 million, the rollover is amazing, but you're still going to have a lot of room to play with because, if you expect the cap to boom, there's realistic way you can fit all these guys under the cap.
Okay, so if I said what's my dream deal, I'd like to send him to Pittsburgh for Chase Claypool, and maybe a day 3 pick. Swan Song says, I think the Steelers would jump at a shot with Garoppolo if he's cut. Now, in this case, he's not being cut.
I
But
think
this is he says since Trubisky pretty much has a backup contract, they have Trubisky, but in a way, when you look at what they gave Trubisky, it's almost like Pittsburgh added Trubisky so they wouldn't get screwed over in a trade. So they wouldn't have
right,
nothing,
right,
right?
right,
So now
and
Trubisky's like, hey, we got Trubisky.
right.
We're okay. You're not going to screw us. But if I'm Pittsburgh, I'd rather have Garoppolo than Trubisky, and I'd probably move Claypool to get him.
And that was part of my frustration, right? Earlier when we were talking, and just earlier with this entire Garoppolo trade situation, because to me, the contract they gave Trubisky and all of that to me screamed that maybe the Niners were asking much more than they were willing to give up for Garoppolo. Hence why they went with a cheaper option. I think with Pittsburgh though, you're gonna have to wait out and see what happens with the draft, right?
Because they may like
Because
somebody in the
they
draft
might
that
like somebody, and then
right.
Trubisky becomes the perfect bridge for that. But let's say because Pittsburgh picking at a weird spot, I do think they're going to trade up for a guy in this draft.
Man, I wouldn't. None of the quarterbacks I've seen will inspire that kind of confidence. What do you think of this comment from Russell? He says Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go to the New York Giants. Remember, I said this. Russell
So
Patrick.
that was my offseason prediction because I thought that it would be kind of like a Tannehill Mariota situation for Garoppolo and Daniel Jones, where Daniel Jones is the guy, right? But like you're putting some pressure on him where if he doesn't perform, you go to a viable starter. Now Garoppolo's a little bit worse than Tannehill, and I might probably give Daniel Jones an edge over what Mariota was. But they signed Tyrod Taylor to decent backup money. I don't think they go Garoppolo.
Um, the New York Saquon Barkley. Would you take Saquon Barkley or back in a trade for Jimmy? He's got a
Larry, I would
$7.2 million
Larry,
cap hit.
at this point for that $25 million, I would take a box of peanuts in return for
You
Jimmy
just want the
Garoppolo.
money. You just
I
want the
just
cap
want the
money.
money. But
Okay, oh, go ahead. No, go
if
ahead.
you're
I want to
talking
hear.
about Claypool, if you're talking about Saquon Barkley, like, oh my God, I would be so in. And Garoppolo is a good quarterback, and he's an average quarterback. I don't know if I would go as far as to say good. Good might be a little effusive. And he did a lot for the 49ers in terms of being part of two teams that went on really, really deep playoff runs. But if you can get Chase Claypool and Saquon Barkley in return for Jimmy Garoppolo, that might be Garoppolo's greatest contribution towards the 49ers winning a Super Bowl. And I don't mean
So
that with any sort of disrespect. That's just like those two players would have that type of impact on this team.
I threw this out to Grant last week. He was not as fired up about Saquon Barkley, but you are, huh? I mean, Saquon had a great rookie year, caught 91 balls, one of the great offensive rookie years we've ever seen from a running back. Then tore his ACL. This last year missed time with the ankle.
Well, you don't have to sign Saquon Barkley, right? And Saquon
No,
Barkley's talent hasn't gone anywhere. It's still
yeah,
he's been hurt, but
he's
if
only
you see it,
25.
he still has the same talent, and that talent was good enough for him in a pretty good draft in 2018 to be looked at as the consensus best player. No matter what, I don't care how careers play out because the evaluation of Saquon Barkley at the time was right. In that draft, he was the best player. He had special traits. He had special speed, balance, vision. He had everything that goes into being a great running back. And you don't have to give him a second contract because you still got the franchise tag, and the running back franchise tag is the nicest franchise. We would be a star in the 49ers offense with Kyle Shanahan calling plays.
I mean, I would love it. I would absolutely love
I
it.
would love it.
Let